WGR Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. Welcome into the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, where the voice of the Rochester fan is heard. Pull up a stool and join us at 866-4326. This is WGR Rochester, and the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia is on now.
From the High Fall Studios, the sun is out. We are ready for 2 hours of sports talk excellence. Thank you for joining us and making us part of your day. Whether you're listening live right now, 95.7 FM, AM 950, we are on YouTube, we are on Twitch, we are always streaming for free inside the Odyssey app. Just punch up WGR Rochester. We're on 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern weekdays, and certainly you can, if that doesn't fit your schedule or you missed a segment, you can listen back to it. We are your 10-hour weekly Rochester sportscast. One of the concerns I had about the Buffalo Sabres, Timmy, was you're heading to the postseason. How would this team be ready? And I think the answer to the bell, game one. Game one, it's hockey. Sometimes you're doing the right stuff, and the results aren't there, and the Sabres just kept banging away at it, banging away, and then the dam opened. Last night seems like that second period, they just were not ready to go. And let's push we'll get back to UPL here in a second. But that whole period was absolutely flat. And we could talk about the power play. Certainly that's been a disaster. We can talk about UPL. But overall, that is just one game that you flush, and that is a lesson that every single night, not even every single night, every single period, you've got to bring it. And for the Sabres last night, all right, here they come again. I'm watching the game, the third period, I should say, with the executive producer, and she's like, they're going to do this again. I'm like, I don't know. 4-0, it's a difficult hole. And 4-1, 4-2. I hand it to Swayman calling the timeout. I don't think I've ever seen that in hockey. You see it always in basketball, right? Players calling the timeout. You see it quarterbacks, play clock running down, calling the timeout. In hockey, you get one timeout. So you really should use it strategically, meaning, hey, we're only up by one goal and we just called for icing and the extra attackers on the ice. Let's breathe here a little. Well, we weren't down to the closing minutes. It was 4-2 at that point. And Swayman could feel like, okay, this feels like something else. And I don't even know the rule. Maybe somebody could fill me in. Can a player actually do that? Or was that Swayman saying to the bench, hey, we need to call timeout? And that's leadership. And it settled things down for Boston. The Sabres had a few looks at the end, but, you're down by 2. So now the series goes to Boston tomorrow night for Game 3. Head-to-head against the NFL Draft. It's a night unlike one we've had here in the history of the Sports Bar. Again, our phone number, 866-4326. That is the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com. On the show today, 2 o'clock hour, our betting expert, PJ Glasser. Now, here in New York State, and I think this sucks, if you want to bet on the Sabres, if you want to bet on whatever in the NBA, you can do that. You can't bet on the NFL Draft, which is silly. Like, we don't have any intel? Are you serious? Like, I know who the Bills are going to draft. Like, we can make educated guesses. That would be a lot of fun if they were ever gonna open it up. And look, in this day and age where they're, prediction market, I don't know what the hell the difference is between prediction market and actual betting, but to me, it's like, all right, if New York State, let's open this up a little bit. But we do have the NBA playoffs to talk about. We do have baseball to talk about. We do some golf, too, as PJ Glasser, our betting expert in the 2 o'clock hour. The icon, the dean of Rochester sports media. You could say maybe it's Mayor Ron of the DNC, head-to-head, right, with Catalana. Mike Catalana stepping back in. They've got a new episode of Buffalo Plus coming out tonight, and Mike was in attendance of the Sabres, and it's just good to kind of get his opinion on what the Bills should do in this draft. And there was something that Perino said yesterday. Matt Perino joins us every Tuesday. I'm like, oh, boy. Are we ready for this for the Buffalo Bills if the board goes this way? Again, our number, 866-4326, our handle on X is WGR Rochester. And a lot of comments yesterday in the YouTube section. And if you want to leave a comment there, by all means, we welcome you in. After a rough night out with the boys last night. What time do you get up on a day like today? Like 9?
No. 11 if I'm lucky.
Dude, I'm in the gym now. 7:30. I've turned into that guy.
Well, I'm proud of you.
How about you? How about we make this a thing? We get Timmy into the gym here in the morning. So.
If I go to the gym, I'm going to become a fossil.
Well, that's why you need to eat healthier, and that way your body's not breaking down where you don't have to go to.
I might still be here. It might be the 9th overtime tomorrow morning.
Well, right, and that was the other thing we were going to get to here. The Amerks tonight. This is 7 straight years for the Amerks. They've reached the postseason. This has been a lot of fun. Of course, I'm not counting the COVID year. There wasn't any playoffs that year. I don't even want to remember that. Last time the Amerks were in the play-in round, you got to go back 4 years ago where they swept Belleville 2-0. And what I remember about that was the Amerks had not the home ice advantage. Game 1 was here. 2 and 3 were up in Belleville. And Game 1 was on a Wednesday night. And people came out for that. People were ready. And that began a really nice, fun run. Not just that season, but then the following season, build off that under Seth Appert, where the team actually got to the conference final against Hershey. So, yeah, it's not ideal to be playing in this round, for sure. And tonight, I think it comes down to something very simple for the Amerks. Ready? That would be Devin Levi. I'm listening to Jeremy and Joe, and I don't want to be that guy who texts them. They've got their own show, right? They do a great job every morning. And they're talking about the future in goal. All right, we're going to have this conversation because that was not ideal last night. But when you're looking at the situation next year, and we got a whole offseason to talk about this, right? And they're talking about Alex Lyon. And Owen Parker brings up, hey, or was it DiBiase? One of the two. You could go out and make a home run swing. How about Helleberg? How about Shesterkin? Sure, why not? We could kick that around. That's fun sports talk. The forgotten guy is Devin Levi. He was supposed to be the future. He was the guy who showed up. And they had a rough patch and sent him down. And beginning this year, the Craig Rivet podcast there, said that Levi wanted out or requested a trade. And, well, he doesn't have much leverage. So here he was playing the most minutes in the American Hockey League. And it's difficult for me here to say, okay, put a grade on Devin Levi, because that defense in front of him wasn't great. Defense in front of him making mistakes. The lineup in front of him. Let's push that aside. This is the test. This is where we put a grade on it beginning tonight. Last year, Syracuse, outstanding. French chef kiss. And, boy, I mixed my metaphors there, didn't I? But then you get to Laval, and it's not anything like that. And he's not the reason they lost, but he wasn't helping matters there. So the point is, this is a Toronto team. Yes, they swept Laval over the weekend, but Laval didn't play anybody. They're resting. So this is an opportunity for the Amerks to go up, win tonight, and then Friday close out Toronto, and then bring on Laval. And for Devin Levi, can he carry this team? Don Stevens, Andrew Mossbrooks, game 1 of the best of 3, coming up tonight, 7 o'clock here on WGR Rochester. Back to UPL. And that was as bad a goal you'll see, not just in the regular season, anytime. And the funny thing was, Timmy, I was calling a high school game last night. Flag football, because I'm into that, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm getting in my car, and it's 1-0. Like, okay, 1-0, whatever at this point. And Dunleavy is just like, and yeah, here's Geeky. He's going to dump it in. Whoa! I'm like, oh no. And automatically, and there's silence. Ray and Dunleavy they're the team broadcasters. They can't put UPL on blast there. And you know it's bad because the arena kind of goes silent. 2-0 Boston. I'm like, what on earth just happened? And then it becomes 3-0 because Boston gets one on the power play. Okay, this is not ideal. Paul Hamilton comes on and kind of explains, like, hey, that's a backhand from just inside the red line, bouncing puck. Well, I mean, I didn't grow up playing hockey, but what I grew up playing was baseball. And the one thing as an infielder you must do, you just get your body in front of it. Yes, you want to pick it with the glove, but you need a backup plan, especially if you're coaching kids. Yeah, get your body in front of it. You know, what's the line from movie Major League? None of this ole, blah, blah, blah. Can't say the word. So, like, I don't know what UPL was thinking. That's one where you are not the infielder. You're the catcher. That can't go to the backstop. And that, I tell you, if he stops that, I don't know if it ends up, who knows, the butterfly effect. The Sabres somehow don't take a penalty later by being over-aggressive. I don't know. But it didn't help matters last night. And now the discussion is, all right, in a year where you had alternating goalies for most of it, do we begin this again in the postseason? Let's just say this. That would be highly unusual. Name me the instance where you had rotating goalies and it worked out. Not ideal. You want a guy and you don't want to have to think twice about it. Let's just look at the stats, shall we? In a year where, okay, the minutes, yeah, they were a little bit in favor of UPL by the end, but certainly a big enough sample size for Alex Lyon. In the regular season, goals against UPL, 2.52. Goals against Alex Lyon, 2.77. How about save percentage? Because that might be a little bit more accurate, right? You have more rubber going your direction, right? UPL, 910. Alex Lyon, 907. Alex Lyon is a really good number, too. And I do believe that Lindy Ruff made the right decision. All right, that one that began the third period, let's do something to provide our team a spark. And you never want to see that. But if I'm Lindy Ruff, I am not going knee-jerk here. There's many, many instances. Heck, you had Edmonton, these last few runs. Like, okay, you know what? Skinner's not doing it tonight. Let's go to the other guy. Like, no. I welcome somebody with a counter-argument, but I am not going against UPL. UPL is a solid goaltender who he made a horrible mistake last night. And I don't think you're going to send a message. I think basically, all right, that was a bad one. You guys know what you need to do in game one. And here in game two, one particular bad period, yeah, not great at all. I will say this, though. Josh Allen, not only is he a great quarterback, he's got the flair for the dramatic, doesn't he? Like his wife is this world-class actress, right? And maybe some of it, but Allen certainly has that gene. And for him to come out last night and bang the drum, and then all of a sudden, out of his back pocket, crack open a cold one, and then throw it down, and then that's going to get the crowd, and then he's off. Timmy, do we know what he actually chugged down? I couldn't tell.
It looked like a high noon to me, but I'm not positive.
I think so.
I didn't catch it, but I saw the piece of the logo.
Yeah, it was thin, so I don't think it was anything. And granted, they're world class athletes, and already training has begun for next season. So as much as I would like, for Josh Allen to throw down a kind IPA, maybe just something a little lighter might be just okay on that. But when you compare it to Aaron Rodgers, you remember that Aaron Rodgers, Milwaukee Bucks postgame? Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, everybody. Chug, chug, chug. And he's sipping, pausing, like, no, I don't want my quarterback to do that. Like my quarterback may not like beer, but you at least got to know how to chug one. I mean, do you think Josh Allen has funneled the beer in his lifetime? I know you funneled the beer.
I have not.
Really?
I wouldn't be able to keep it down. I'm a very much my pace guy. I can't force things.
So this is me when I'm 19. And the San Gennaro Festival is in New York City. And it's just a fun time. And I don't know why they didn't ID, and they didn't seem to ID, but they're like, hey, you want to try a funnel? Sure. And friends pay for it. I'm like, oh, my gosh. And then all of a sudden there's like a crowd, and they're all cheering. And Tim, I did it. I did it. Now, could I do that today? I don't believe I could. Well, we've got hockey tonight, Amherst, 7 o'clock. Tomorrow night, Sabres on our channels. Tomorrow night, you will have multiple monitors, I'm sure, as we will have the NFL draft. Mike Catalano will be coming up here in just a few minutes. As he does every Tuesday, Matt Perino, Shout Podcast, Syracuse Post-Standard, joined us. And when we're talking about scenarios that would drive a Bills fan nuts, I think number one on my board, it's not trade down. I think we'd all welcome a trade down. It would be trade down, though, something specific. There's a team a few slots back that might want to move up. If the Kansas City Chiefs call you, hang up the phone. Do not do that. Tim, this is your instructions for Friday. If Binkley calls in on Friday, and he may just, because the Chiefs, they have 2 first-round picks. They should, feel pretty good about their draft. But in that instance, no. Do not do that. We will be furious. And hopefully Brandon Breen can read the room on that. I don't care what Kansas City's offering. Hang up the phone. Scenario number 2 isn't something that had crossed my mind, but if you're doing the mocks and you see what might actually be available for Buffalo at pick 26, how do we feel about this, Bills fans? This was Matt Perino, Tuesday here in the Sports Bar.
It's hard to predict what's going to be there and what they're going to actually like. And there's a couple of different positions that we probably haven't even talked a ton about that's gaining steam here late in the process. Like you think about offensive line, they go out and they sign Austin Corbett, they re-sign Alec Anderson, they bring in Lloyd Cushenberry, they have some other internal options like Kylan Grable maybe could be an answer at guard at some point. I know he kind of came in as a tackle, but those are the guys that you think are going to be in line to replace David Edwards. But what happens if you get to draft night and Bean's worst fears are materialized and there's not a lot of great options and the best option is maybe to go with an offensive lineman? Well, that's great, and maybe that you get an Emmanuel Pregnon out of Oregon or Chase Besantis if that's more of your flavor. Maybe a guy like Penn State's Vega Ione drops all the way down to 26 and there's massive value. That's all well and good and that's all great. You want to keep a strength, but now you don't pick till 91.
That's the problem. Matt Perino joining us yesterday. And this is where I come down. If I had to say, what would I like to see the Bills do tomorrow night? That's number one, trade down. You need 3 or 4 guys minimum from this draft class that will contribute in meaningful ways. Can we all agree on that? Like, I'm not interested in development, okay? I'm interested in winning. Now, so 6th, 7th round, okay, by that point, maybe you're taking a flyer, of course. But by doing so, by trading down, you're giving yourself another bite at the apple here for perhaps doing that. So trading down is option number 1. Number 2, and it sounds very chalky and maybe too much of a fan's coming out at me, maybe too much of a Rochesterian. Whether it's Casey Concepcion or some other wide receiver. Wide receiver. Yes, thank you, Tim. What if it's a Rochester family that helps the Buffalo Bills get over the top finally? At pick 26, it's hard for me to imagine there's any pass rusher or any linebacker, anybody that is going to all of a sudden, poof, top 5 defense. Yay, Buffalo. The Bills defense needs so much. Now, on the other end, Bills offense, you got a top 3 quarterback. You want to say number 1 in the NFL? By all means. You got a top 5 running back. If you want to say number 2 in the league, by all means, go ahead. Offensive line doesn't need any help. Certainly top 10 if you want to say better than that, by all means. But yet, wide receiver, yeah. You have an opportunity now to say, all right, this wide receiver room, maybe it's not top 10, but it's not in the bottom third of the league like they were last year. And with DJ Moore and receiver X, Casey Concepcion, Boston, whoever you may get at that position, and certainly, gosh, you're bringing back Khalil Shakir, and then not to mention, all right, you got Coleman and others that will be just kind of competing. I think the offense then, your concerns about the offense, if everybody's healthy, and that receiver at 26, I believe, is somebody that can contribute in a meaningful way. So, 1, trade down, but 2, if you get the wide receiver, I'm not complaining. We have the thoughts of Mike Catalana, 13 Wham, Buffalo Plus. He's coming up next. PJ Glasser next hour. You're always welcome to join us here at 866-4326. Gene Battaglia on WGR Rochester.
WGR Rochester Sports Update.
Game 1 tonight, the Amherst best of 3 in Toronto. Head coach Mike Leone of Rochester on those Marlies.
To really get off the line rush, we got to make sure that, we put, I don't want to say every puck behind them, but we have to put pucks behind them, and then they really get off the line rush puck and play a certain style of game that is suitable for our team to be successful, but also against his opponent.
Mike Leone heard Tuesdays here on the Sports Bar. Don Stevens, Andrew Mossbrooks will have the call tonight right here beginning at 7 o'clock. The Sabres, it's on to Game 3. This after the 4-2 last night loss in Game 2. We will have that game for you tomorrow night. Series tied at 1. Rochester Red Wings continue their series tonight at Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Yankees send Max Fried to the mound tonight in Boston. The Mets look to break a 12-game losing streak hosting Minnesota. Gene Battaglia, WGR Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
What a fun night we're going to have tomorrow night. Welcome back in as you do get Game 3. And we will be watching multiple screens, monitors, your phone, whatever your combo is, one way or another. And joining us here as another episode of Buffalo Plus will be dropping tonight. Mike Catalana, Buffalo Plus 13 Wham, joining us. Mike, before we get to what the Bills' options are here, your thoughts on the Sabres, this kind of rebirth here of the love of hockey out in Buffalo, and how this team, how we anticipate they may respond after what was kind of a dud in the second period. Mike, how are you this afternoon?
Yeah, all good, Gene. We were up there for a few games late in the year and then for the last 2 in the playoffs. And look, the vibes are high. All that is good. I don't think it's a lack of effort. I think this is, you forget about the playoffs, right? Because it's been 15 years. I mean, obviously we've had it here in Rochester, but they haven't had it in Buffalo. And you forget what the playoffs are, which is big, big highs and big, big lows. And we experienced all of that. Now, that doesn't wipe away the fact that they have not played great. The offense is a bit stagnant. Power play is a mess. Like, all those things play in. But this is what happens in the playoffs. You see it all the time. If you want to protect the home ice, that's great. Now they got to go to Boston and win. I mean, that's kind of the way it is. And you forget it a little bit, right? Because it feels, you remember the big moments, you remember when it ends. But in the middle, it can get messy.
Yeah.
And it was messy last night. It really was not a great, certainly a bad second period for him.
Yeah, Mike, if I'm Lindy Ruff, and this is a team that had, for most of the season, alternated goalies, which is a little unusual, but it worked. I'm not moving off UPL. I'm going back to him. How do you think he handles it? How should he handle it tomorrow night for Game 3?
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine, he's a big Sabres fan, and we're going back and forth on it. And I said, look, this is where Lindy has to trust his relationship with his players and his relationship with his goalie. The guy who I was talking to was like, man, you sit UPL now, you could lose him. I'm like, if that's your goalie that he can't handle, not starting a game. I mean, it's not like he's Patrick Waugh here. Like he hasn't had that career yet. They need to win, and he did not play well, and he gave up a terrible goal. He should be prepared that if he doesn't start, he's ready to go when needed. And I look at it, if Lindy believes that UPL will be fine, maybe sitting him out for a game, giving Lyon a chance is the right thing for the team, and gets the other guys on the team's attention a little bit, I think he'll do it. I don't think he's going to be thinking, oh boy, if I take UPL out now, he's done. I mean, he took him out. He had to the other night after he gave up the 4th goal. So I have this feeling he's going to go with Lyon in the 3rd game and have UPL ready. And if Lyon plays well, he'll play the 4th game. I mean, this is the playoffs. I know everybody says, and you're right, they did it during the regular season. Different in the playoffs. You're playing the same team, and again, and maybe 7 times. And if you need to switch things up, it wouldn't just be Lyon. They need to make some other moves too, because it's Game 3 now, and it's on, and I don't think anything's going to be off the table.
Mike, we're all partisan here in Rochester. We want to see the Amherst on a nice long run, but this, the best of 3 is not ideal. And hey, it's a depleted roster. We can all acknowledge that. But to me, tonight, this series is a lot about Devin Levi. This is his third season now, his third playoff here in Rochester, and I don't know if he's kind of asserted himself in a way that says, hey, I'm beyond this level. I'm ready to kind of move up.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when you try to evaluate him, like I don't think it's been a great year for him. I think he's played, like most goalies, he's played well in moments. It's funny, we're talking about UPL. I mean, he had kind of an up and down career in Rochester too, and there was a lot of questions about what he could do in Buffalo, and then after a while he got going. It is different for him. I mean, if you remember last year, he played so well early in the playoffs, and then it didn't go well. Of course, they also moved up considerably in competition when that happened too. I think you'll be able to tell watching tonight and watching Friday how much of it's him and how much of it is, he doesn't have Zach Metza back there. He doesn't have Roseanne in front scoring goals. It is a different team around him. But I think an evaluation can be made on a goaltender on how they step up for their team. And I always think he has a pretty good mindset. Let's see, maybe he's just going to decide to go out there with a limited roster and prove something. And even if they don't win, you look at him and go, wow, that young guy played well, and he, stood up for his team. I think that's what they want to see in him, regardless of the results. And like you said, it is a pretty depleted roster, and I feel badly for Leo in that way, but that's what happens sometimes in the AHL.
Mike Catalana, 13 Wham Buffalo Plus, joining us, looking at now the draft here and for the Bills.
Yeah.
And you were out there Monday, Brandon Beane, Joe Brady, Josh Allen all talking. Tell me if I'm wrong. I got the sense from Beane that not really keen at 26. Doesn't seem like in this draft class it's a great position for Buffalo for a few reasons. One, all right, what are the first-round grades? I don't know who's going to fall to them at 26. And two, the quarterbacks in this, who might trade up if the Bills are going to trade down? I don't know if there's going to be an opportunity there. What's your sense after going out on Monday and listening to Beane, what the Bills may perhaps be thinking here, Mike?
Well, the Bills have put themselves in a spot where they are usually drafting in their regular position is past the point where Brandon Beane has that many first-round grades. But you never know who's going to get picked, right? His first-round grades are going to be different than what they have in Denver or what they have in Chicago or Philly or wherever, right? So you never know who slips down there, and they're in that spot. I did think it was telling that he said, we know there's a player out there when we're at 26 that we believe can really help us. I know coaches and general managers especially, focus on value, and that is important, right? So you don't want to take the guy too early. I get it. But if you pick the right guy, I think that's a much lesser concern, meaning if you took James Cook in the first round, if you took Osiris Torrance in the first round, even Cole Bishop in the first round, I don't think you'd be sitting there going, oh, my God, why didn't we wait till the second round to get that guy? So I think GMs sometimes can get a little obsessed with value and miss out on a player. They traded back twice and got Keon Coleman. Joe Brady can say it a million times. I don't think he's the right guy. I don't think he's worthy of top 33 pick in the NFL. Maybe we'll all be proven wrong except for Joe Brady this year, but I don't think he was. No matter how many times you traded. So great, you got a little extra value. Got Dwayne Carter. Let's see if he can play. Like it sometimes goes that way. So my point is, if you're sitting at 26 and you think this is a little high for the guy I want him to take, Malachi Lawrence, a pass rusher, or if it's a receiver that's sitting there and they're in that spot, are you really? How much is it going to impact you if that guy is taken in the first round instead of the second round? Depending on what other. I mean, I think he'd love to trade back. I don't think it necessarily is worth what you get to move back those spots if you don't get the right guy. And we'll see. Right? You traded up for Dalton Kincaid. Okay. Not the greatest results yet. Okay, but not on the field enough. So, meaning like it's got to be the right player, and then you'll eventually feel better about the pick.
Don't tell Fates that I sort of agree with him because I don't personally like doing that, Mike. But I'm kidding.
No.
But
You're not allowed to. We rarely agree with him. So
his take.
Go ahead. What do you got?
Well, I don't think the Bills are going to fix everything on defense this draft. I really don't. I think there's a lot of question marks, and maybe over the course of the season, we'll see the Jim Leonard defense evolve, and by the time we get to the postseason, the cake is done. It's really, really good. But I do think this offense is certainly top 10, and you can make it even better, and I might be just kind of being generous. You have a top 3 quarterback, you have a top 5 running back, you have a top 5 offensive line. The receivers aren't really that good. And this might go to your point as well that, hey, we might have a first-round grade on this offensive lineman, but do they really need an offensive lineman here, Mike? You need a wide receiver in this draft, and any wide receiver that can help you contribute, I think I would be on board at 26, and I only think a lot of Bills fans would say, yeah, this is making this team better here in 2026.
Well, I'd be on board with a receiver. They need a young receiver. I think I'm making it pretty clear. I don't think Keon is that guy now or is going to be that guy going forward. They don't have that player on their roster, I think. So if you want to invest in a high draft pick, I'm all for it. They have not done enough of it. Since Josh has been there, we all know this. They traded a 1 for Diggs, and they used a 2 on Keon. Other than that, they haven't drafted a wide receiver higher than the 4th round. It has not been a good investment in that way, in draft capital. I shouldn't even say draft capital. In draft picks, they have not done enough of that. They should do more. They're one of the lowest in the league at using that. I have no problem with that. I will say it is showing that this defense lacked players. I think everybody sees it. And I know sometimes we're saying, well, this will be for Jim Leonard, and that's fine. But look, if you're Patrick Surtain is on your team, right? If you're in Denver and you've decided for some reason you want to switch schemes, I think Patrick Surtain will play in any scheme you want, right? You can get players that'll just play in a scheme. They can adjust to whatever it is. You look at that defense from last year and you're like, they lack dudes, right?
Yeah.
This is what we said. They lack dudes. They got players, good players, but they lacked it. And Jim Leonard can't fix it all in 1 year. He even said that. This defense is going to look different in year 2 than it is in year 1. But I think they've taken a lot of swings at defensive linemen. They need an edge. They need a pass rusher. I'm a little worried about Michael Hoyt and his recovery. It's a serious injury. We don't know how Greg Rousseau is going to do standing up in this defense. And, obviously they made their free agent move, but at the same time, it's like that's a big position of need. I hate to say this, probably more than wide receiver, because I'm always on board with them picking one because, they need to be better. They need to be better at that position. But, hey, they have needs. I'm all for wide receiver if it's the right one there. I'll take KC Concepcion coming home, right? You want to bring him back? I'm all for it, but back home. I'm all for it, but I think they're going to go defense if he can't trade back, but, let's see what he does tomorrow night.
Pass rusher, yes. Good linebacker that can be sound making tackles, yes. What about I don't want to call it a sneaky need because it's obvious. They need more help at corner. They're going to have to draft a corner in this draft, Mike, but how high is too high? I don't know if we got really a good read on Maxwell Hairston last year. And Christian Benford, if there should be something. To me, that is right now paper thin on this team without Tre'Davious White and without others backing them up.
Yeah, and, when Bean was talking, we talked about this on our podcast, and Dan was saying about when you look at the way he talked about Max needing to armor up and, deal with the rigors of the NFL, basically. I mean, he said that about Keon. He said that about Kincaid. Like, a little bit of a trend there, excuse me, on players. They absolutely need another corner. And that might be a veteran. I didn't get the feeling that Trey White is coming back. I guess that could happen. He hasn't signed anywhere yet, but I don't think that's going to be the case. But it could be a veteran. But this is, again, where we say, like, there have been a few mocks around the league that have mocked a corner to the Bills early. and your initial thoughts, ooh, first round. They might have a first-round grade on a corner that we don't know in particular, or a high second on a corner. And the player's sitting there, and they jump. And I think you're right. You always need corners, and you need depth, and this defense is going to need playmakers. So that would not stun me. If you think about it, Gene, you need corner, you need linebacker, you need pass rusher, and you need safety. I mean, I know, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is there. We always talked about this. He's on a one-year deal for a reason. He's always on one-year deals. You're going to need another player in that spot. So defense is the more glaring needs, but kind of would be nice if they just went ahead and took a receiver.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Wouldn't people be like, okay, right? Okay, they finally got somebody. And there's obviously there's some pretty talented guys. So if it's somebody who can play on the outside, I'm all for it.
Oh, my gosh. If somebody on the outside, Shakir in the slot, and then DJ Moore doing whatever he does, and you don't have to worry about Keon Coleman or Shaver's recovery or whatever else is behind him. And look, Mike, if the Bills, and we've seen this before, the Bills are going to draft a receiver high, and then at the end of the draft, they don't even select one. This year, I think it's almost a mandate that they have to take one at some point, and preferably day one or two here.
Yeah, I just keep going back to I don't understand. I understand them supporting a player like Keon. He's still in his third year. They drafted him high. I don't understand the go to the wall that Joe Brady has. I don't know if you're to me, unless they're just, this is their way of, I won't say setting them up for, I don't mean setting them up for failure, but setting the bar. We need this. If we don't get this, we move on from you. I mean, a little bit of that. But man, I have never heard them talk about a player that's had this start this highly. I mean, they used to talk about Spencer Brown and him coming off an injury. And, they talked about Gabe coming back from his injuries. Like sometimes they go on about that stuff. I've never heard them. People keep, referencing Eric Moulds. 2 years he didn't do anything. He didn't really have a quarterback. And then they got Flutie and he went nuts. So, I'll take Eric Moulds. I haven't seen Eric Moulds.
Are you reading my notes here? I was just going to ask you about Eric Moulds. Mike, that was year 3. Yeah. And you could tell like he put in the work and all of a sudden he matured a little bit. Now, he's a first-round pick, but he was kind of a bonehead from what I recall his rookie season, and then he figured it out. So, but there's a comp for everything, I suppose, there.
Yeah, but you did make a substantial upgrade in quarterback. And in this case, you got Josh Allen. So, tough to upgrade from Josh Allen. By the way, he was central casting doing that last night with the beer chug and the drum. He was the highlight of a otherwise miserable night for the Sabres. Josh made his appearance yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's where like when you're kind of leading off tonight on the news, you're going to say, and let's look back at last night's Sabre game, and there's Josh Allen, and there he is. Boy, he has a like he's got timing, he's got chops. Like when are we going to see him on it? Why hasn't SNL booked him? They shouldn't wait until the Bills win a Super Bowl. He should be on now.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is very interesting. I could absolutely see him doing that. He loves that type of comedy, Parks and Rec, that kind of stuff. I could definitely see him do it. Maybe he does want the Super Bowl win, and then he'll he'll worry about that part of it.
Yeah, he's got a little one at home now and everything, so he's pretty busy. Mike, one more Bills question before we let you go, and that is there anybody on the roster that we're kind of forgetting about that might actually kind of step up, like somebody like Javon Solomon, let's say, or somebody that, hey, they haven't gotten Landon Jackson. I don't know if there's somebody you think that either you're high on or they're high on that, hey, we've certainly talked a lot about Keon Coleman, but is there somebody that really hasn't gotten an opportunity that might be ready to step into the light here coming up?
So Javon Solomon, Bean has talked about him being, in the past, being maybe suited for a different scheme. And so the hope is that that's the case. I mean, you look at a player and you say, well, he hasn't performed in the defense in the current scheme. He's got a few years under him, and he's become a special teams player. And now the hope, I think, is that, and I think they should see. Sometimes there are players that it's just like that the light goes on and the scheme fits, and his skill set is better. I would put Jordan Hancock in that category. I liked a lot of what I saw out of him in practice and for some moments. But when they needed somebody to trust at safety, they went with Poyer, and I totally got it. They needed, and I think that really helped Cole Bishop. But I would be interested to see what he can do. Another year, his head coach is going to be a same. I mean, look, McDermott was great. They were great at coaching up guys in the secondary. I think that's been pretty obvious through the years, getting a lot out of them. I think they liked Hancock. They just needed to trust somebody, and they trusted Poyer more. I'm going to go Jordan Hancock maybe more than in Javon Solomon. I don't know if it's there, and I think they're going to draft over him again. I think they're going to draft another edge. So let's see how it plays out. But hey, I'm still open to that. It wasn't like it was that much. He wasn't that high in the draft. He does have some ability, and at least he's performed on special teams. So maybe it is this year that he's got a little more to him.
Mike, I'm just going to start out by saying you're welcome. You're welcome, because if it's
for
not
being worse than the Phillies.
Yeah, like literally, if it's not for the New York Mets, the Phillies would have the worst record in the National League. And the
Phillies have been just awful, but they can't lose as fast as the Mets are losing. And I will be honest with you, I have been so tied up with the Bills stuff and the Sabres stuff. Every time I look, it gets worse and worse for the Mets. But honestly, when I have watched the Phillies, it's just an awful product. The pitching's been bad, but not awful. The hitting has been terrible. Harper's really the only one hitting. Schwarber hit a homer last night. They're getting nothing out of everybody else. It's the race to the bottom for these two teams right now.
Wow.
I don't know.
You're not going to pass the Mets.
We have to collude now and go after Fates and the Braves. This is the only way. It's just going to be a turnaround. We can just tell them, yeah, go ahead, sit up there and wait till the playoffs come and we knock you out. But I don't know if either of these teams are going to be in the playoffs.
No. Like, all right, when do they fire Mendoza and Stearns? That's all we have left. For the Mets. It's
I think the Phillies are. I think the Phillies. It's tough to fire a manager this early in the year. You want that bump, but it's April. It's April. It's mid-April. You know what I mean? Or late April now. It's wild to think about firing a manager, but I think Thompson's going to go with I think he's going to go soon if they don't turn it around. I mean, he could have been gone last year. Maybe Don Mattingly takes over. He's with the Phillies now, and his son is the assistant general manager. How about they elevate the two Mattingleys? Mattingly Jr., I forget what his first name is, goes up to GM of the Phillies, and Don Mattingly manager on the bench. How about that?
I guess he can't be Mattingly
Couldn't
Jr.,
be worse than right now.
No. This is the yin and yang of sports. It's still very much hockey season. We've got an NFL draft and baseball. I don't like baseball, Mike. I don't know about you. Buffalo Plus.
Honestly,
tonight.
I don't even want to watch. Yeah. We are doing a live Buffalo Plus podcast tonight, 7 o'clock, 7 to 8 on the YouTube channel, so you can check that out. Jenna, Dan, and me, answering a lot of questions, going back and forth with people if they want to talk Bills, and then we'll have coverage all weekend. And we'll be watching the Amherst tonight, hoping, they split with. It's funny, I thought that they split with Toronto, but I mean, it's like it's a different team that's out there on the ice now. So we'll see how it goes, but hoping that they can get going and get have a fun night on Friday night when they come home.
Just so everybody knows, I did pay my fine to the Mike Catalana Kangaroo Court for the Stephon Diggs I had. So
it was hilarious when I got the Venmo for $1.40, which is what I find you.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I was expecting $5, $10, $1.40. Okay, I can handle that one.
Well, we usually make the fines related to something in it, and And since Diggs' number was 14, we made it. I could have made it $14. I thought that was a little excessive. So $1.40, that's what you got. So yes, it is. The contribution is there, and at some point, this will lead to beers. But right now, I think we're all too busy trying to figure out what's coming up next.
Well, that's my goal for the rest of the year in this new role in the station, Mike, to stay off your board for the rest of the year. Mike, thank you for the time. We'll check out the pod tonight, and certainly a busy week. Thanks, Mike.
All right, G.
Thanks, Mike Catalana, 13 Wham, Buffalo Plus, joining us. We'll take a break. 3T. Actually, you could be 6T, like how Don calls Ukapeka Lukanen 6K. Terrible time, Timmy's. Terrible take of the day, where honestly I have no idea what you're going to say, and sometimes it just irritates me. And sometimes, check that. Rarely do I ever say, that's really insightful, Tim.
I got you today.
You got me.
I got you
All
today.
right, we've got that coming up. We've got PJ Glasser, our favorite Baltimorean. We'll talk some sports from the betting angle that's coming up. We have time for your calls. We'll get to some of your comments also online here. We're on YouTube and Twitch. You can leave a comment there. We're on X at WGR Rochester, and you can call us at 866-4326. Gene Battaglia, Tim Schneider, Dan Drummy here on WGR Rochester.
You're in the sports bar. .950 WGR Rochester.
Hey, it's Gene Battaglia for Window Nation. Spring is here. It's a great time to open your windows and wait. Your windows won't open easily. They leak when it rains. They have cracked glass. They need repainting. Again, getting top quality custom fit windows from Window Nation is easy and affordable. And right now, during the More You Buy, the More You Save sale, you can save up to 50% off all your windows. Plus, you can get them with zero interest for 5 years. During uncertain times, one of the best investments you can make is in your home. In fact, experts report that windows retain 80% of their value. With Window Nation, you'll get windows that easily slide open and closed. They're made with top-quality seals so they won't leak when it's rainy or windy. And unlike other windows, they're maintenance-free. They're so good, Window Nation stands behind them with a lifetime warranty. And they're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. Don't wait to put an end to your window problems. Save big with Window Nation's The More You Buy, The More You Save sale going on now. Sale ends soon, so visit windownation.com now for a consultation.
Rochester's premier whiskey.
WBEE HD2 and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. WGR Rochester. Sports Update.
Playoffs begin tonight for the Rochester Americans. This is a tough task. It's only a best of 3. Game 1 tonight in Toronto. Don Stevens, Andrew Mossbrooks with their call beginning at 7. Meanwhile, the Sabres now even at a game apiece with Boston. Head coach Lindy Ruff knows there are ups and there are downs.
It's playoff hockey. Our guys have experienced very little of it. Now, in a matter of 3 days, they've been able to experience 2 games. They've been able to experience a win and a loss. There's a lot of things I like about our team and I like about our play. There's areas we're going to have to get better at, but I don't want to see one person doubting that we're not going to go into Boston and win hockey games.
Game 3 tomorrow night in Boston. Rochester Red Wings continue their series tonight at Scranton-Wilkes-Barre. Yankees send Max Fried to the mound tonight. Yankees at Fenway. Mets look to break a 12-game losing streak. New York hosting Minnesota. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader. 95.7 FM, AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Pull up a chair, stay for a while. You're in the sports bar on WGR. Grab a drink, hang your coat, get sports talk. Live from Western New York. It's a master show. 9 times better than your typical host. 9 times. Gene and Tim have takes much hotter than most. No one cares when you're out. Sabres, Bills, Americans, Red Wings, and Nighthawks. Sports bar for Rochester Sports Talk.
Hour number 2, the sun is out. We are glad you are with us here today from the High Falls Studios in downtown Rochester. Gene Battaglia with you as we will be talking to our good friend PJ Glasser from Send It In. He's in Baltimore, but how about this? PJ's brother is actually going to do a summer internship with the Red Wings. So we will have young Glasser. I want to have him up in studio at some point, just kind of hanging out with us. You are welcome to join us. Again, our number 866-4326. You can write to us on X, our handle WGR Rochester. You can leave a comment on the YouTube and Twitch feed. Okay, now a couple of these here let's get to. Randy writing in, Josh Allen drinks beer like Ron Burgundy drinks milk. Was that even a thing in that movie? I'm calling
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I trust it.
You trust it? I don't trust that. I think I remember Anchorman. Yeah, Tim is going to Google to check on you, Randy, on that. Ryan writing in, and this is a valid,
milk was a bad choice.
Milk was a bad choice. Okay. No, I mean, granted, we deduced it was a high noon that Josh Allen was chugging, but dude, he's an NFL quarterback. He can't really kind of indulge like you and I can. So I'm going to give him a pass on that. Ryan writing in, the Sabres need to score first and fast so UPL can play with the lead for once. Well, technically he played with the lead in game 1, but I understand what you're saying. That I think it's more important that, hey, you're going in a hostile environment, okay? That's TD Garden Center. That's Boston. Boston arrogance will be on full display. And if you haven't noticed, this series has been very chippy so far. It will be chippy once again. And if the Sabres can come out and just do what they're capable of, just reclaim this series. You have to think of it this way, and it's so cliche, but it's 100% true. The home ice now belongs to Boston. The Sabres need to win one game in Boston in order to advance. We'd like more than one, but might as well make it coming up Thursday night. Tomorrow night, game number 3, we will have Amerks game number 1 in Toronto. Coming up 7 o'clock tonight, Don Stevens, Andrew Mossbrooks with the call.
It's now time for Terrible Time Timmy's Terrible Take of the Day on WGR Rochester. WGR Rochester. It's Terrible Time Timmy.
Coming out of the show open to start hour 2 and then leading into that is just glorious.
No. I don't.
Oh, man. Every damn day.
You have somebody belting out in soprano, Terrible Time Timmy. I just picture like a soda shop from the 1950s, and we're putting the record would flip, and there you are dispensing mediocre sports takes as you often do, Tim.
Well, here's one for you. No more 6K. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen on the bench. You cannot have it. Is that second goal, and it was the second game in a row. Sunday, with 8 seconds to go, terrible goal, but it didn't matter. They still won. Yesterday's goal to end the second period was absolutely disqualifying. You cannot, as a hockey player, rely on that as your back end, and as a fan, trust that that goal is going to win you a game moving forward. Alex Lyon has comparable stats, almost identical. I trust him.
Did you not just listen to what I said last hour?
Yeah, that you had to stick with UPL.
No. Yeah, stick with UPL, but the stats are not comparable.
Sure they are.
Clearly UPL was the better goaltender, all right, in terms of goals against. It's not, like, jarring. But
252 to 277?
Yeah.
907 and 910? 907 and 910 is damn near identical. You have to. Those stats don't even matter anymore. After that goal, there's no confidence, and we saw that immediately. He should have been taken out right then and there, and at minimum at the end of the second period. And they gave up another goal in the third, and then it was over. And by then, they put a little bit of a comeback, and they gave us a little bit of false hope. But moving forward, it has to be Alex Lyon. You cannot trust UPL to win you this series or the Stanley Cup or even one more game. It's got to go Alex Lyon.
In college hockey, this was the national championship game, and this was Jack Eichel's one and only year at Boston University. Remember this?
I do.
Yeah, like it was Boston University, and they lose because their goaltender gave up something along those lines. That was worse by UPL the other night. You get in front. It would be like a catcher, and here comes the wild pitch, but I'm not putting my body in front of it. But that being said, though, Tim, if Lyon doesn't work out, then what?
Then they lost because of game 2. They lost because of yesterday. If they don't win the series, that is why.
No. Like, if Lyon doesn't work out in game 3, you're cooked. I would save this move for one more. I'm going. No. The rotate. Okay.
I mean, you are free to think as you feel, but I just don't know how you can wait any longer. They already waited too long by not taking him out right then and there or at the end of 2. And if you go to Lyon and it doesn't work out, you can go back. But I have absolutely zero confidence moving forward in UPL, and I don't think he has any confidence in himself either. And we kind of watched that as it unfolded last night. It's got to be Lyon.
Tim, I cannot believe you're not listening to my great words of wisdom here. Like, I would stick with UPL, and I think UPL will play very, very well. Gosh, the research project would be worst goals in NHL Stanley Cup history given up by a goaltender, and how did that goaltender respond? And I'm sure, to your point, some of those situations are moot because, well, that goaltender, that was it. Okay. But that was as bad. Like, you're not going to get an argument from me. That was as bad as it was. And yes, you're bringing up the last goal when it's 10 seconds remaining, whatever it was for Boston the other night. That was bad too, but the situation we didn't.
Yeah, that was inconsequential, but it's still a terrible goal. And then to have it happen 2 days later, that was an icing attempt. That was a get off the ice, and it went in the damn net.
Tim, good stuff from the fact that you're making me angry, just like that song. And by the way, people love that song.
Yeah, Randy just commented in saying that he jumped out of his car and started breakdancing in the Wendy's drive-thru when the song came on. So,
yes. Okay, let me list the people who don't like that song. Ready? Chris in South Central Kentucky. I don't know. We might have lost Chris forever and ever. He's just very upset about that song. You. End of list. End of list. It is one of the best things that has ever happened here, that submission.
Brian and Avon laying out a gem, top 40 hit.
Listen, you're always welcome to to submit your musical, whatever it may be, your contributions. You can write in as Randy did, and I would love to see Randy breakdancing at the Wendy's. Gary Bettman. Hey, Wasowski. Gary Bettman was in Buffalo last night. How does this guy still have a job? Do you realize when the Sabres lost to Dallas in 2000, there was Gary Bettman answering questions from the media at 2 a.m. about no goal and just spinning. Like, he's been around forever. I'm not one to tell people how to live their life. You want to keep working, you keep working. But can't this sport kind of improve? Like, if you actually had like a business-minded sort of guy, like, let's push this. Like, Gary Bettman is just there to placate the owners, right? Buddy was in Buffalo last night, and what are you going to ask Gary Bettman? Hey, are we going to get an outdoor game? And the answer was yes. Just you wouldn't say when. I'm going to tell you when. Ready? It's when Jefferson Road is completed. Jefferson Road, the Buffalo version of it. Like, legitimately, just wait. Because if you think the new stadium is the be-all and end-all, oh, no. No. The money is in the real estate. Oh, there's money in the stadium, don't get me wrong. But there is a lot of money available with the redevelopment of the current site. And it's already been rezoned. Hotels, restaurants, everything to get you there before the game, spending money, staying after the game, spending money, making it a destination when normally it wouldn't be. Let's go check out the stadium and the team store and go have a bite. Honestly, like and that we're a long way away from that. That's why when you see the pictures coming up tomorrow night from Pittsburgh, wow, okay, how many hundreds of thousands of people, people from all over. It's good. It's becoming kind of like the spring pilgrimage, right, in our country. Let's go to the draft. And I've said this on the record, and my friend Ryan Horvat said it called me an old a cranky take. It was an old man take, something like that. Like, hey, why would you go to the draft? Honestly, just kind of sitting out there. It's not a game. It's not a concert. What's in it for you? And crabby ass. I think that's what he called me. He called me Mr. Krabby ass. But I'm smart enough to recognize, like, what a boom this would be for Western New York when the Bills get a draft. And they will get a draft. New stadium, NFL wants to show that off. But the Bills are kind of wise. Hey, let's make sure that everything is in order because when you do get the draft, those businesses around there, that'll make their whole year, basically, like having that sort of influx. Like, will we feel a bump off that? I'm just wondering here in Rochester. Like, if you have... Like, at what point do hotel rooms sell out in Buffalo for the NFL draft and people, you got to go to Rochester? And it's not crazy. Like, you go downstate, people all the time stay in New Jersey or wherever it is from the outside. So it's not that far. So I'm all in favor of Buffalo getting the draft because I think we would see kind of a little bit of a bump. PJ Glasser will be coming up here at the bottom of the hour. 866-4326. Is our phone number. Of course, the area code probably 585. Now, we did sort of, kind of, talk a little baseball with Mike Catalana. And, look, the team with the second worst record in the National League, the Phillies. The team with the worst record in the National League is the Mets. And I'm not getting all angry. I'm just kind of, like, dead inside. And the thing is, and tomorrow we'll talk to another one of our Bills experts who also happens to be a Met fan, Michael F. Florio, who I saw in Buffalo last week. He's back out in Los Angeles. Michael F. Florio, NFL Network. And the warning signs were there. David Stearns just cutting the heart of this team out between Alonso and trading away Nimmo. You know, what are we doing? Letting go of McNeil for what? For guys like Simeon, who's been a zero, for Polanco, who's on the IL. Like, the allocation of resources for the Mets have been terrible. And maybe another tell was signing Devin Williams. Devin Williams, who Yankee fans were laughing at Met fans. Like, all of a sudden, that guy's going to figure it out? He was the great closer who got scarred by a postseason home run, ironically, against Pete Alonso.
Bet you're missing this.
No. We're not missing this because he's hurt too.
Well, he's better than Williams.
Not if he's on the IL to July. Did you miss that?
No, I didn't miss it, but...
Yeah, no. Stop. You're just pissing me off with that. That's from, like, the Met fan base knows how to have fun. And I've seen it. Oh, the Mets need maybe the Hawk Tua girl. Maybe you get Grimace out there. This team is dead. And for last night, it was the bullpen melting down. Devin Williams doing what he was doing in New York last year on the other side in the Bronx, not in Queens. But this is the point, right? You had the 3-run homer from Francisco Lindor. And besides that, you had 3 base hits. This lineup it's not even Punch and Judy. There's no punch, and Judy's not to be found. All right, there's nothing worth it for the Mets right now. So if you're somebody that's expecting for me to go on an angry Met rant, it's worse than that. It really is. As I'm hearing those tones. On a much lighter note in baseball, now this might be a future trivia question, Tim. The only 2 teams in the majors that have yet to go the City Connect route. We have teams now that are on City Connect 2.0. The Red Sox were really kind of the first to do it, where they went with the marathon uniforms and they went with the Fenway uniforms. And, yeah, we could rate the City Connect uniforms. And by and large, I think the thing has run its course. But wait a second. Like, one's pretty obvious, the other one that isn't obvious. The one that isn't obvious is really because they're just vagabonds right now, and they don't want to connect to any
No city to connect to, yeah.
Yeah, that's the Athletics. Shame on Major League Baseball. Shame. For 3 years, can you at least give Sacramento just kind of the pat on the head to say you were a Major League Baseball city? I know the ballpark. It's not heck, our ballpark in Rochester is better than the ballpark. But I think it's embarrassing for baseball that they don't acknowledge where they play. And because of that, they haven't gone the City Connect route. You would think maybe even they would kind of at least roll something out for Vegas, but they're putting a pin in that. The other one, this is the obvious one, is the Yankees. Yankee tradition, pinstripes, New York across the gray. Well, look, what is it that you're doing? This is interesting. There's a report from The Athletic that players, and they don't name the players, have gone to management asking for City Connects, which, here's my impression. Do players really care about the uniforms? You know, Chris Sale, they don't like the uniform, like sometimes. But, in the minor, maybe they're just kind of conditioned it coming up for the minor leagues. It's not just a Rochester Red Wing things. You're a Rumble pony, or you're whatever it is kind of coming up through the system, and you're wearing a bunch of different things. But this is the Yankees.
Jazz has to be all over it. He's a fashion guy. Just wants something new to wear.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, what would you do? And so the Mets have claimed the Gotham, which they should, and there's still a little bit of the purple, and that's a nod to the 7 train. And it's New York City. You could do any number of things. If you're doing the Bronx, do you come up with like a leopard print for the Bronx Zoo? And you mentioned fashion. Are you going uptown there? Are you doing something with the Met, perhaps? You have really infinite possibilities if you're the New York Yankees. But again, the Yankees. So what is it you value? Do you value tradition, or do you value a boatload of money? Yeah. Okay, I guess the Yankees will be getting City Connect uniforms next year. If they're going to make a fortune on it. Here would be my suggestion. What do you do if you're the Yankees? Do you go with like a panda print for whatever animal they want to feature at the Bronx Zoo? Do you go something Central Park? Do you do it like kind of a knockoff version of the Mets, the 4 train or whatever it is? I think the 6 also goes there. I would do this. I would go red, white, and blue. You're not just the New York Yankees. You're America's team. Could you kind of sort of rebrand yourself? Well, you're always kind of branded that. Everybody in the country has an opinion about the Yankees one way or another, just like we have thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys. Like maybe that would be something where you're incorporating the flag when you look at, okay, who really has true red, white, and blue? Texas Rangers. But if the Yankees want to go that route, I welcome anybody's comments on this. And I'm sure there are some Yankee fans who are like, no, keep that S away. No part of it. Do you know who we are? Do you know the tradition? And I would listen to that too. PJ Glasser coming up a little bit. One other quick note from the NBA. We'll ask PJ about this. I'm not sure who was announcing the game last night for the Spurs. But there's Wemby going down, and his head bounces off the hardwood, and he's basically knocked out. And they're like, oh, Wemby a little slow to get up. Like, hey, your producer should be just like, pay attention to this. And concussion protocol is a real thing in the NFL. NHL, I don't know to what degree. But in the NBA, that was as obvious as it gets. And to me, that would be quite the damper if we didn't see Victor Wembanyama back this postseason. I'm not putting in an exaggeration. That was a really bad knock against the turf, the hardwood. San Antonio taking on Portland coming up. That series now tied at 1 when really, okay, it shouldn't be. Tonight, you just get the 2 games. Detroit laying 8.5 against Orlando. Detroit, that looked pretty bad, right? You would figure Detroit, they're better than what they showed. Do you lay the points in Detroit tonight, or is this a trap? That's a question we'll ask PJ Glasser coming up, our betting expert. You're also welcome to join us on the other side at 866-4326. The area code, proudly 585. Gene Battaglia here on WGR Rochester.
Sports Update.
Playoffs again tonight for the Amerks. Game 1 in Toronto. It's only a best of 3. Head coach Mike Leone on those Marlies.
To really get off the line rush, we got to make sure that, we put, I don't want to say every puck behind them, but we have to put pucks behind them, and then they really get off the line right puck and play a certain style of game that is suitable for our team to be successful, but also against this opponent.
Don Stevens, Andrew Mossberg will have your call beginning at 7 o'clock. Meanwhile, Sabres tomorrow night in Boston. It's Game 3. That series now tied at a game apiece. Rochester Red Wings tonight continuing their series at Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Yankees send Max Fried to the mound tonight. The Yankees in Boston. The Mets looking to break a 12-game losing streak. New York hosting Minnesota on the Major League Scoreboard. Top of 5. Houston leading Cleveland 2-0. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. WGR Rochester.
The best local sports talk in the Flower City. The Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR. Rochester.
Also on the Major League Scoreboard, the Baltimore Orioles leading the Kansas City Royals 2-1. They're in the second as we welcome in our favorite Baltimorean, our betting expert, PJ Glasser. And hey, PJ, is it fair to say you have a favorite AAA team here as well this season, PJ?
Gene, I'm doing great, pal. Yes, sir. I'm going to be a big Rochester Red Wings fan this summer. Looking forward to it. My brother will be helping out with the team. And, Gene, I don't know if you know this, but last I checked, there was a guy on the team named Philip Glasser. Did you know about that?
I did not know. Philip, Timmy's no
Is that crazy?
Wow. And no relation, huh?
No relation.
Oh,
but,
we got to get you a Wings Glasser jersey there, Peach.
We do. I need to meet Philip. What was crazy too, Gene? There was also a player on the Red Wings, Matt Mervis, who I grew up with playing. I grew up playing Little League with him, and he was on the team for a little bit there. So to have my buddy Matt Mervis on the team with a guy named Glasser was pretty funny to watch during spring training.
That is fantastic, PJ. And yeah, we got to get you up here. You're now you have multiple reasons to make a little trip. Honestly, it's it's a little bit of a drive for you, but you can find cheap airfare here and there, I suppose. PJ, appreciate your time today as always. And let me just kind of start here with what we can't do in New York State. That's bet on the draft. I mean, it's not like I can pick up the phone and say, Brandon Bean, okay, I won't tell anybody on the air, but help me make a little money. But for whatever reason, New York State hasn't cleared this. How many states are allowing this? Like, is it kind of a thing tomorrow night when people just want a little action on top of what they're watching here when it comes to the draft?
It's a good question because I know living here in Virginia, you can't bet the draft. But if you were to drive into Maryland or D.C., you can bet the draft. So each state, is weird about certain events and certain futures and certain things that you can bet on. I would say, a good majority of the states you definitely can bet on the draft. And it's always one of the more interesting events every year to bet, Gene, because as we know, it's really all speculation. You're going off of all the mocks that you read about, all the things that you hear about. And it's tough, too, because you have to bet on what you think a team is going to do and not necessarily what you think you would do or what you're rooting for, right? Which is always sometimes a tough thing for people to differentiate. So for anybody out there that's betting the draft, just remember, bet the things that you think the team is going to do and not necessarily what you think they're going to do or what you want to have happen.
Yeah. In Buffalo, we want the Bills to draft a wide receiver, but ultimately it might be take the best defensive player on the board, which I guess that would be fine too. PJ, 2 games in the NBA tonight. I want to get your thoughts on. First up, Detroit in Orlando. Whoa, what the heck happened there in Game 1? We anticipate Detroit not to lose their first 2 at home, right? I would think. 8.5 points, though. Is that too many? How do you view this matchup here tonight? Game 2, Orlando up 1-0.
Yeah, this is a tricky game, Gene, and these types of games are always tough. When before the series started, Orlando wanted to go into Detroit, and just they were looking for a split. They were looking to get home court flip back to Orlando, and hoping that they can take a commanding lead on the series. Well, now that they got game one, their mindset in game two is let's get greedy. Let's get another one, while the Pistons got to feel like they're playing for their season tonight. For such an inexperienced team that came into the East as the 1 seed with all these expectations, the very last thing that you want to do is go down 0-2 on your home floor. So it makes it a tricky game to bet. Gina, coming into this series, I really thought there was a chance that it could go 6 or 7 games because I thought Orlando matched up very well defensively with Cade. They could throw a lot of different bodies at him. And also the last few years, the Magic have been a really good team at home this postseason, during the postseason, but they've struggled on the road. And I think you saw a little bit of that in the play-in tournament where they lost to Philly, turn around, and they blow out Charlotte. Now, obviously, they went on the road and they beat Detroit over the weekend. But I think the Pistons bounce back tonight. If I had to bet it, I would probably look at 8.5. But I think the better bet, Gene, would honestly be Pistons in 7 games in this series, or Pistons in 6 potentially, because I do think it is a long series. And I think there's a very good chance that potentially the home teams could win the rest of the way, where, I think the Pistons win tonight, Detroit maybe wins a game 3 or 4 in Orlando, and then I think 5, 6, and 7, you're probably looking at the home teams winning the rest of the games the rest of the way.
Second half of the doubleheader tonight on ESPN has Phoenix and Oklahoma City. This isn't Phoenix from 4 or 5 years ago. This is a Suns team that kind of squeaked in. This is an OKC team that looks like they can repeat, PJ. 17.5 points, though. That's a lot here. So is there a play in this matchup here? Your thoughts on OKC and Phoenix?
So this line opened up at 14.5, Gene, for game one, and it got all the way bet out to 17.5, and those people that bet it turned out to be right. So now it's at 17.5 for game two. I think OKC, watching games yesterday, watching the Sixers pull off a big upset, watching the Blazers pull off the upset, watching the Hawks from the night before, watching the Lakers. I mean, we've had a nice string here of underdogs that have been winning these games. So for a team like OKC that surely is motivated, wanting to go back-to-back, it's almost like that Thursday in the NCAA tournament if you're a team playing Friday where you sit back and you watch the other teams. And if you weren't reminded what can happen in the tournament, you are reminded when you have to play Friday. Same kind of feel, I think, with OKC tonight, where if they were maybe feeling good, feeling like, oh, we can just kind of coast in this game and sail, and we'll go up 2-0. I think what they've been watching the last couple nights in the NBA might be a little bit of a reminder. So, look, 17.5 is a whole bunch of points. But, Gene, it would be OKC or pass for me. There's no way I'm stepping in front of that Thunder train.
You mentioned Portland. If I can kind of jump ahead to Friday night, because that'll be game 3. And what do you know? That series is tied up. But, I mean, there's a reason, right? Like Wembanyama, terrible hit he takes last night, head bouncing off the hardwood. And if we're going back here 15, 20 years in the NFL and there was a quarterback that we really didn't know the status of, there would be no line, PJ. But in this day and age, you got to put something out there. I mean, what's your advice here? Because this is 2 entirely different series, and when the concussion, I can't. Who the heck knows? And I don't think the Spurs or the NBA is going to do anybody any favors giving us any updates here. Your thoughts on the status of Wembanyama and this series that all of a sudden Portland may have a real chance here?
Well, that's the key, Gene, is the fact that it's a concussion, right? As we all know, if this was like a hand injury or if this was a foot injury, whatever, he could theoretically play through it. Obviously, if he's in too much pain, he's not going to. But you could play through that. With concussion, you obviously have to get cleared, and the doctors have to make sure that you're okay. So if Wemby wants to be out there, if he feels like he is, if the doctors don't, then he's not going to be able to play, which definitely makes it a tricky game to bet for game 3, and it makes it tough to bet for series-long futures. I think probably betting Portland in like the first half would be the way to go for me in game 3. 1-1, a lot of momentum, a lot of uncertainty for San Antonio, and the Blazers are at home, and that should be a great environment. So I think they're going to feed off of that game early. At the same time, even if Wemby doesn't play, if you're the Spurs, I mean, you were up 13 last night with 7 minutes to go in that game. So it's not like when Wemby got hurt, the Blazers all of a sudden just went on a big run. I mean, San Antonio was still in control of that game. So I think they'll be okay. I'm hoping that, Portland wins game 3. The Spurs are down 2-1 and we get a nice series price on the Spurs with the uncertainty of Wembanyama. That's when I would look to buy into San Antonio. But as of right now, Gene, really no strong feels on game 3. If anything, probably just like Blazers first quarter, first half, I think would be my look.
PJ Glasser, our betting expert, joining us. One more here on the NBA. Oh, my gosh, tomorrow night, PJ. It's a multiple monitor night tomorrow night because, hey, we have the NFL draft. For us here in Western New York, it's Game 3, Sabres and Bruins. And, hey, at that same time, 7 o'clock tomorrow night, Game 3, Knicks in Atlanta. And here are the Knicks, right? This is what they do all the time. It's like, hey, we're gonna let a team back in and the opposing player. This wasn't Trae Young. Trae Young is gone. This was the guy that was a throw-in, C.J. McCollum. Are we concerned about the New York Knicks? This is Atlanta's small favorite at home in Game 3.
Gene, you said it. The Knicks they are the epitome of when you feel like everything's good and you can kind of take your foot off the gas and you just think they're going to coast, that's when they lose and they start to stress people out again. And then when people start to get stressed and, they're going after Mike Brown and they're saying Brunson's not playing any defense and they're questioning if they're going to win the series, that's when you want to buy back in on New York. This is what they did with the Pistons last year in the first round, where it was 1-1 going back to Detroit. And they won both of those games in Detroit. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they won both of these games in Atlanta. So I do like the Knicks in a pick-em. I think they're going to take care of business tomorrow night. Celtics are a very similar team, Gene, where I feel like they play with their food all the time. They've been big favorites these last 5 or 6 years with Brown and Tatum. It feels like they always lose games they're not supposed to. And just when people think, oh, maybe that series that Boston's involved in is going to be more interesting than we initially thought, they usually tend to roll too. So I think the Knicks and Celtics are in very similar spots in both of their game 3s, and I like both teams to win and both teams to cover. So I do like New York, and I like Boston as well in both game 3s.
PJ, maybe this is just more of a general question because it's tough. We've talked about this before. We are hockey crazy here in Western New York. It's a tough sport to kind of bet on, right? Like, if you're doing it, you don't know which way the puck is going to go. I think it's interesting that the Sabres actually have plus money for their Game 3 coming up tomorrow night against the Bruins. Tonight, 3 games. You get Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. Surprisingly, Philadelphia went into Pittsburgh, took both the first 2. So this goes back to Philly tonight. Dallas, Minnesota, series tied at 1. And Anaheim, Edmonton, with Edmonton leading 1-0 in that series. Your thoughts just kind of general in the NHL? PJ, is there anything perhaps we can play here?
I mean, Edmonton should take care of business in that series. They should probably win that series in 5. I think there's a chance that they sweep them. Just the experience being to the Cup the last couple of years, I think they'll have no problems with Anaheim. The Wild Stars series, Gene, I kind of feel like the winner of that series might go all the way to the Cup final. I know Colorado won the President's Cup trophy. They're the best team in hockey. We obviously all know the curse associated with that. And I think that's going to be a 7-game war. And I think the winner of that, I would look to make a deep run in the Western Conference. So far, to me, the biggest surprise has been that Flyers and Penguins series. I thought the Penguins were the better team. They had home ice. The Flyers, it came down to just about the second to last day of the regular season for them to clinch a playoff spot. Now here they are going up 2-0. I do really like the Penguins, though, in this spot. I've just seen it so many times in the NBA, but especially the NHL. Team is up 2-0. Fan base is so excited. It's so unexpected. And now it just feels like, they're up 2-0. Now they're back at home for games 3 and games 4. I mean, look, you're going up against Crosby, Malkin, Letang. These dudes won Stanley Cups. They know what this time of the year is all about. Yes, there is a sense of urgency, but this is their season tonight, and I would expect Pittsburgh to show up and play well. So I do like the Penguins quite a bit tonight against the Flyers.
Yeah, PJ Glasser, our guest. Couple more, PJ, before we let you go. Golf. We haven't talked golf in a couple weeks, and we're still a few weeks away from the next major. It's mid-May for the PGA Championship. Tour in New Orleans. Quick thought on that, and a quick thought on anything I would ask you, like Live Golf being on life support here, PJ. Interesting developments in the sport of golf here recently.
It certainly is interesting with Live Golf. Gene, I really don't have any thoughts because none of us really know how it's going to work. The reason this whole league started is because of all the deep pockets that they have with the guys funding it. So the fact that now it feels like it's on life support, you certainly have players like Koepka and Reed and others that have left to try and come back to the PGA Tour. They do still have Bryson and Rahm, so you do still have two of the best players in the game. But like you said, Gene, it's just, the viewership just isn't there. The appeal isn't what they thought it would be. It'll be interesting. I still don't think it's going to go under, but it's definitely more of a possibility than I thought probably a couple months ago. And then as for New Orleans, so this is a team event this week, Gene. So you have guys that are playing in pairs of twos. So on Thursday and Saturday, it will be each guy will be playing their own shot. And then Friday and Sunday, you have alternate shot, which will be much tougher. So tomorrow, when you're watching golf, you'll see the leaders will be at like 12 under, 13 under. And then on Friday, you'll see that probably the leaders will be like 4 or 5 under that day. So a little bit of contrast. The field isn't as strong this week as it has been in weeks past, but I took Ben Griffin and his partner this week, who I can't remember off the top of my head, at 20-1. But Andrew Novak. Novak's really good putter, good short game. Ben Griffin's been playing well. This is a Pete Dye design, so you got to have good ball striking. There's water all over this course. So I took a shot with Ben Griffin and Andrew Novak at 20-1.
PJ, do you have any thoughts on the baseball coming up tonight? And I just have one question. I'm looking at the Mets right now, minus 156. Why? What would make you would say this is going to be the night that everything's going to turn around here for New York here? Honestly, it's just very frustrating right now, PJ. You can sense that in my voice. Your thoughts on Major League Baseball here?
Yeah, they were minus 160 last night too, Gene, and that didn't work out. So all the people that saw that number and bet the Mets, seeing it again, they're probably not going back to the well. You know me, Gene. We've known each other long enough for you to know where I would go on that game if I had to bet it.
Plus money,
the Mets are stinky as it gets, right? They were up 3-0 in that game last night for what it was worth until obviously the bullpen collapsed and then Devin Williams was a nightmare in the 9th inning. To be honest, I think that's the best way to bet the Mets game is you just wait for them to be up like 3-0, 4-0. They're not going to make it easy on themselves, and you just bet the other side in the game. Probably the best way to go about it. I do like the Pirates tonight, though, against the Rangers. That's about a pick 'em. I like this Pittsburgh team. We all know their pitching's very good, but their lineup, Ryan O'Hearn's been a great addition for them this offseason, and I think they're going to win that game tonight against Texas. So if you have the stones, Gene, to bet the Mets, they're probably the right side, but I think the Pirates are another good option as well.
Yeah, PJ Glasser, not related to Philip Glasser of the Rochester Red Wings. PJ, tell our audience where they can get more of your content here.
Yeah, Gene, I'll be doing a live stream tomorrow for the NFL Draft on Game Day Garage, so you can check that out on Twitch and YouTube. We're doing a live stream. Also do guest hits on VSiN every Wednesday. I'll be on with my guys, Femi Abebefe and Will Hill tonight, so looking forward to that. And I'll be filling in on Westwood One on Sunday as well with Chris Mack. So staying busy, Gene. Great time of the year. April as a sports month does not get as much love as I feel like it should year after year, but there truly is everything that you could want going on this time of the year. All the sports are involved, so it's a great time of year, Gene, and a lot going on.
PJ, appreciate your time and insight as always. Let's do this again, bud.
Absolutely. Thanks, Gene. Take care.
PJ Glasser. As we'll wrap this up coming up next, we'll tell you what's coming up on the show. A big show tomorrow on draft day and game 3 for Sabres and Bruins. Gene Battaglia with you here on WGR Rochester.
Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
There are some stories that are just kind of laughable as we welcome in. Some takes that are just really, really bad. Greg Bedard is a longtime Boston writer, owns an outlet out there, and his take on this is that we're only making a big deal of Mike Vrabel, Diana Rossini, just because the NFL has a lull right now. Okay. So what would not be a lull? Super Bowl week? Like, we would be less interested in this story. I'm sorry. Like, that is 100% not true. What you're not used to, Greg, is TMZ, or in this case, Page 6, or that sort of element that is out there, the ones breaking the news and kind of dictating. And when you see something and there's more to the story, that's when people kind of roll up their sleeves. And that's why I should start a new career, just be crisis management. Whoever the idiots were that advised Diana Rossini and Mike Vrabel, the play should have been you own it right away and you move on. And then, just then, you would have put the Athletic kind of in a pickle where, like, okay, if we're going to fire everybody that had some sort of indiscretion, it might just not be Diana Rossini. So I found that kind of laughable. 866-4326, our phone number to call. Tomorrow on the show, we will talk to, you hear him weekday mornings, but the first time on our show in this format, Jeremy White will be joining us tomorrow. As pretty big day tomorrow, is it not? Bills picking at 26. And to me, that kind of feels overshadowed by Game 3, a Sabres-Bruins. We will also talk to Michael F. Florio. He hosts the Sick Podcast with Stevie Johnson. You know Michael F., though, from the NFL Network, as we'll talk some Bills and NFL with him. Miss any of today's show, or you just want to go back and listen to Mike Catalana? He was at 125. You want to go back and listen to PJ Glasser in the 2 o'clock hour. Download the Odyssey app. You can listen back to the Rewind feature. Dan DeLorean, Dan Drummy, has everything in bite-sized form for you to kind of consume. Tonight, here on our station, it's Game 1. The Rochester Americans taking on the Toronto Marlies. Really got to get this one. Devin Levi, this is your night to shine here, bud. Don Stevens, Andrew Mossbrooks with the call beginning at 7 o'clock. For Dan Drummy, for my buddy Tim Schneider as well, my name is Gene Battaglia. Chopin the Bulldog coming your way next year on Rochester Sports Leader, 95.7 FM, AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs?